Hej, witam was wszystkich serdecznie. Z racji tego, że jest w tej chwili przerwa na kanale pomiędzy kolejnymi seriami, postanowiłem, no i ta przerwa będzie trwała jeszcze, myślę, z tydzień, postanowiłem jakiś pojedynczy film tutaj wam zaprezentować. Niedługo też urodziny mojego kanału nastąpią, więc mam nadzieję, że nie będziecie się nudzić. No a dziś zagramy sobie w demo Foolish Mortals. Jest to jedna ze zdecydowanie najlepiej zapowiadających się gier przygodowych i trzymam za nią oczywiście ogromnie kciuki. Mam nadzieję, że to będzie coś wielkiego. Jedna z najlepszych przygodówek ostatnich lat. Przepraszam, głos tracę. No to się przynajmniej zanosi. Startujmy. Zaczyna się nietypowo, bo od kredytów, jak widzimy. W grach są one zwykle na końcu. Ale od razu widać tę estetykę, widać... Jest tutaj staranność w wykonaniu, nawet samych kredytów. Ładne grafiki. Muzyka też wpada w ucho. Na razie nie ma niestety polskiej wersji, ale zobaczymy. Może jeszcze coś się zmieni do premiery pełnej wersji gry.
They said there was a treasure on the island, its location known only by the dead. I could see it in my dreams. How was I supposed to know that in order to find it, I'd have to die too?
Spirits and specters from regions unknown, guide to me the wanderer who searches alone. Well, welcome back, Murphy McCallan. Have you found all 5 ingredients for the spell?
I found 3 so far. Only 2 are left, the chalk and the coffin nails.
Hurry. The island will lead you to that which you seek. I have no doubt about that.
Gwoździe do trumny? Jako jeden ze składników. No tak, widać tutaj, że akurat to demo nie zawiera początkowego fragmentu gry, tylko jest gdzieś w środku. No i to co od razu zwraca uwagę. Mamy pierwszą lokację, ale już teraz widać, jaka jest jakość wykonania grafiki. Bardzo klimatyczna. Rzadko spotyka się tak klimatyczne gry. Właśnie mi się przypomina klimat Jacka Orlando. Może ta animacja chodu nie jest taka w 100% naturalna, no ale generalnie wygląda to świetnie.
How will the spell help me find the lost treasure of Belmore Manor?
There are things on this island that have gone unseen. Stories that have been left unheard. At least to mortals. I commune with regions beyond. Let me introduce you to a friend. Out of the shadows, the cursed and the damned, return now my servant to do my command.
I have returned to you, Master.
Loa, this gentleman wishes to find the lost treasure of Belmore Manor. Tell him how this can be done.
Only inhabitants of the house know where the treasure lies. Their spirits still within its walls, trapped between life and death. To ask them, those spirits must be revealed on the mortal plane.
And that is what our spell will do, Murphy. A summoning spell to unveil the ghosts trapped within the house.
5 ingredients place inside, tie closed, and then unseal. Within the focus what may hide, this spell will soon reveal.
Once you've collected all 5, we can summon the ghosts of Belmore Manor. Once we've summoned the ghosts, we can ask them exactly where the treasure was hidden. You have served me, Loa. Begone!
Loa. Magiczne Loa. Aż mi się przypomina Voodoo Kid, które niedawno nagrywałem. Tak, czyli musimy przyzwać duchy tej wyspy i one mogą powiedzieć nam, gdzie znajduje się skarb, no ale oczywiście musimy najpierw zgromadzić te 5 składników.
Do you know what happened at Belmore Manor?
You want to hear a ghost story, Murphy McCallan?
I want to know everything I can about that house.
Then listen closely. Dark magic runs throughout Belmore Manor. The house was built by the Belmore brothers, 3 merchants from England who made their fortune trading across the Caribbean. Xavier Belmore, an explorer, Yardley Belmore, an actor, and Cecil Belmore, a scientist. Their parents dead for many years. They each loved and cared for their young sister, Abigail. Abigail met a young sailor who worked aboard one of her brother's ships. And in less than a year, he proposed. The engagement was a scandal. Despite having the pick of any eligible bachelor in high society, her hand and the Belmore fortune was to go to a commoner. Because of their unconditional love for their young sister, the Belmore brothers sanctioned the marriage. But people began to wonder if Abigail was being locked into marriage, whether by blackmail or black magic. Grand wedding was planned by the 3 proud brothers, but in the months leading up to the wedding, each of the brothers, one by one, was lost, presumed dead. And yet the wedding was still to go ahead. And with Abigail set to inherit the Belmore fortune once she came of age, many people began to wonder whether the sailor was not a perpetrator, but a pawn. On the morning of the wedding, the sailor was summoned to her chambers. I don't love you, Abigail declared. I never loved you. And to everyone gathered in the house, Abigail declared that that same evening she would marry another, John Rackham, first officer of the Belmore Trading Company, would be her new groom. Except that didn't happen. On the night of the wedding, everyone in the house suddenly and mysteriously vanished. Perhaps the last revenge of the scorned sailor. The house that night held a heart that would be broken, a victim who would be tricked, and a force that would unleash evil. But no one knows exactly who each was. If you want to find the treasure, Murphy, you'll have to find out.
Czyli mamy tajemnicę niedoszłego małżeństwa. W zasadzie 2 małżeństwa miała z jakimś żeglarzem wyjść za jakiegoś żeglarza, no ale w dzień zaślubin powiedziała mu, że nigdy go nie kochała. Tam jeszcze było 3 braci, którzy chyba zginęli. No i co ciekawe, wszyscy, którzy byli na tej imprezie, na tym weselu, na tych zaślubinach, bo ona powiedziała, że z kim innym jednak, za kogo innego wyjdzie, wszyscy zniknęli. No i do tych zaślubin nie doszło. Ciekawa sprawa. Dużo tekstów z tego, co widzę, chyba będzie w tej grze.
How am I going to find the spell ingredients?
Everything I've ever needed for my voodoo spells I have found on this island. It's as though this island pulls the supernatural to it. Keep searching. Once that's complete, I will show you the final step of the spell.
I'm going to finish finding the voodoo ingredients.
Hurry back.
Okej, część pierwsza. To zaklęcie przyzwania. No spójrzcie na to. Po prostu przepiękna grafika. No, podoba mi się w niej niemal wszystko. Też takie oświetlenie, taki klimat bardzo mi się podoba.
A frayed sack hung from the wooden crane.
Też z tego, co słyszę, voice acting brzmi dobrze. To jest chyba kursor akcji.
I jiggled the handle, but the door was locked. The wooden shack had a single door. From the moss growing on it, it looked like it hadn't been used for years.
Czyli raczej niewielu tutaj przychodzi. Prawym przyciskiem myszy, kiedy klikamy, słyszymy komentarze na temat danego miejsca interaktywnego, natomiast lewy przycisk oznacza akcję.
The glass of the window was so thick with dust and grime, I couldn't see through it.
Mamy coś, żeby przetrzeć? Aha, tu widzę, mamy ekwipunek. O, powiększenie. Tak, właśnie The Vanished Wedding. Mary and Macabre magazyn. Czyli taka halloweenowa. For richer, for poorer. The deaf do us part. O, można sobie przeczytać cały tekst. O tym tajemniczym dworze. No, tekstu naprawdę będzie sporo, bo już widzę, że te dialogi są dość szczegółowe. No i tutaj możemy też czytać dokumenty. Ja może teraz nie będę w let's playu czytał, musiałbym sobie przetłumaczyć to na spokojnie na język polski. Tutaj bym się bardzo zacinał. Natomiast tylko tak rzucę okiem. No to, co w zasadzie chyba widzieliśmy. Tak, to, co widzieliśmy w tej animacji, jest tutaj po prostu napisane. Czy coś więcej? No trochę więcej jest, że złoto, klejnoty, że ten skarb nie został nigdy znaleziony, prawda? I że to miejsce, że unikają tego miejsca wszyscy, którzy znają jego przeszłość, czyli jest to miejsce budzące grozę wśród społeczności, wśród osób, które znają jego historię. No i tutaj się zastanawiają, co się stało, jaki sekret stoi za tymi zaślubinami i co stało się ze skarbem. Aha. I tutaj The Inventor, The Explorer i The Actor, czyli aktor, badacz i wynalazca. No, ciekawe. Co jeszcze mamy? To jest pewnie dla nas takie wprowadzenie do historii.
It was a small leather pouch with a drawstring, used for voodoo spells. Currently, it held black feathers, gunpowder and rum.
No właśnie, bo mamy tutaj voodoo. Jesteśmy na Karaibach, bądź co bądź. I może dlatego też ta Loa się powtarza, bo Voodoo Kid, no to też, jak sama nazwa wskazuje, zajmowało się tematyką voodoo. Manuskrypt, jak ładnie wykonany.
It was a handful of nails, once used to seal up a coffin.
Gwoździe do zapieczętowania trumny.
It was a crumbling rock of chalk. It was a pair of feathers, both black.
Czarne pióra.
It was a small mound of gunpowder.
Proch strzelniczy i rum.
It was a bottle filled with rum. It was a voodoo manuscript that looked hundreds of years old, with the instructions to a spell that summons things hidden within.
No dobrze, czyli to jest te 5 składników, które pomogą przywołać te duchy.
At the center of the manuscript was an empty circle, with arrows pointing inward from each of the ingredients. It was marked the focus.
No, czyli tutaj prowadzi te 5 składników po prostu. Instrukcja jeszcze jakaś.
Around the illustration was a ring of text, 5 ingredients. Place inside, tie closed, and then unseal. Within the focus, what may hide, this spell will soon reveal.
Napisane rymem. Dobra.
It was a voodoo manuscript.
Tak, to wiem.
It was an empty soda bottle that I'd found on the beach. That wasn't going to work.
Chciałem po prostu przetrzeć szybę, ale to nie działa w ten sposób. Nie możemy się dostać do środka. Aha, czyli klikając tutaj i na słupek, i na to, dzieje się dokładnie to samo, tak? Tak jest.
A taxidermied fish was mounted on a board surrounded by an old frame. A plaque below read, "Record-breaking Penkoza fish, caught by Captain Pemberley."
Kapitan Pemberley ją złapał.
I took the taxidermied fish from the rotting wooden frame.
A my ją sobie przywłaszczyliśmy. Czyli już widzę, że tutaj też będzie taka przygodówkowa jazda bez trzymanki, czyli bez skrupułów związanych z przygarnianiem przedmiotów nienależących do nas. Ciekaw jestem kolejnej lokacji. A mamy mapę. The Spirit of the Queen. Aha, lokacja niedostępna w demie. Ta też. Ta też. I 2 są dostępne.
Walking into the port town of Dead Nettle, I could sense its history in every stone, brick, and plank. Echoes of merchant ships loading and unloading all manner of cargo from expeditions throughout the Caribbean. Gold and treasure that may still lie hidden on the island.
Podoba mi się. Taki komentarz do lokacji, do której wkraczamy z ust głównego bohatera. Aż przypominają mi się czasy pierwszych Broken Swordów, gdzie właśnie były takie sytuacyjne komentarze George'a Stobarta.
I tried the door. It was locked.
Po prostu przepiękna lokacja. Zdecydowanie będzie to jedna z najpiękniejszych współczesnych przygodówek. Klasycznych. Jeśli nie najładniejsza. Teatr Kukiełek. Klimat wylewa się z każdego skrawka ekranu.
Gruff mumbles emanated from inside the puppet theater. Obviously, preparation for tonight's show was already underway.
Aha, oko oznacza, że możemy tylko spojrzeć chyba, a nie możemy zastosować żadnej akcji na tym miejscu. No, po prostu wiecie, chyba w każdej kolejnej lokacji będę mówił, że jestem zachwycony. A tutaj widzę, jakieś nowe ikony interakcji są.
The poster advertised billiards at the Captain's Club, with 3 billiard balls and 2 cues framing a cube of billiard chalk.
Czyli te lokacje, rozumiem, się ze sobą łączą.
I glanced at the ledger on the podium. It was mostly empty, and the few entries there didn't seem of any interest.
Wiecie co? Bo tutaj widać też różnicę. Bo mieliśmy sporo w ostatnim czasie takich przygodówek, które wyglądały ładnie. No ale jak się popatrzy na przygodówkę, która wygląda ładnie, na przykład Scott Whiskers, grałem w demo, z przygodówką, która naprawdę jest bardzo dobrze wykonana graficznie. Nie tylko ładnie wygląda, ale widać, że autorzy zdecydowanie znają się na rzeczy. I postacie no, tam były trochę oderwane od tyłu. Tutaj no, inny rodzaj trochę grafiki, no wiadomo. Tutaj się dobrze komponują. Widać te różnice. I właśnie takie gry pokazują różnicę pomiędzy grami ładnie wyglądającymi, a grami, które są bardzo dobrze zrobione pod względem graficznym.
Good evening. He looked past me like I was invisible, as though if he ignored me hard enough, there was a chance I'd disappear. I said good evening?
I suppose, if one's standards are low enough. Have you taken a wrong turn, sir?
I'm just having a look around.
Well, make it a quick one.
No, nie jest zbyt uprzejmy.
Who are you?
My name is Felix Greer, maitre d', bartender, and acting manager of the Captain's Club, when Mr. Perkins has his night off. And who, pray tell, are you?
Murphy McAllen. I'm looking for the lost treasure of Belmore Manor.
Oh, goody, another young adventurer seeking fame, fortune, or some combination of the two. Just what Dead Nettle's been lacking for local color.
What is this place?
This, sir, is the Captain's Club, a private members club for current and retired sea and riverboat captains. We are highly exclusive. Are you a captain?
He asked with a smugness that told me he already knew the answer.
I thought not. Then may I recommend a swift exit? You'll find a convenient egress approximately 180 degrees to starboard. If you like, I can give you a good swift kick in the right direction, sir. And don't feel a need to stop walking until your ankles get soggy.
Kolejna rzecz, którą tutaj zauważyłem i która trochę nadaje tej grze takiego ducha Broken Sworda w moim odczuciu, to ten komentarz, który na górze się pojawił. Czyli określa on w trakcie dialogu jakieś odczucia, czy to co zauważył główny bohater, nie to, co mówi, tylko to, co pomyślał sobie w danej chwili. I to też mi się podoba, ten zabieg.
What can you tell me about Dead Nettle?
Do you think you've wandered into the local library? Should we gather around for story time?
I was just hoping to talk to someone obviously so knowledgeable about the area.
Well, yes, unfortunately I'm plagued with an encyclopedic knowledge of the local area. My concierge duties require it. I have a spiel. Welcome, hardy traveler, to our quaint port town of Dead Nettle. Once this town you see around you was a hub of commerce, a beacon for ships bravely navigating between America, Europe, and the Caribbean. With the unfortunate dissolution of the Belmore Trading Company, our town has settled into a quieter life, perfect for the sailor ready to hang up their cap. We hope that you enjoy your time in our homely town and perhaps explore some of the local sites. With the Captain's Club always here as your home port.
Why was the Belmore Trading Company dissolved?
Well, you're taking me off script, but it really was quite the scandal. The three owners of the company vanished, and there was simply nobody left to run the company.
Wasn't there anyone who tried?
The first officer of the company, Mr. Rackham, looked to step up, but he disappeared too. I do wish the company hadn't collapsed.
I bet lots of people share that wish.
I might have more customers if it hadn't.
What do you know about the lost treasure of Belmore Manor?
Do you think you're living in a storybook? Weathered maps, talking parrots, X marks the spot? Grow up, you silly boy. Captaincy is an accomplished skill which doesn't need belittling by childish tales like lost treasure.
No, gadające papugi to istnieją w prawdziwym świecie, więc...
What do you know about the Belmore wedding?
You mean the disappearance of the Belmore wedding? On moonlit nights when the waves crash against the rocks, the captains of this club trade yarns about this very mystery. Did you know Abigail Belmore's fiancé was a sailor who worked on the ships? Some of the old boys here even worked with him. They say he loved her, as true as a captain loves the sea. But she was a temptress, a siren who scuttled that sailor's heart.
What did she do?
After months of engagement, she broke it off and chose to marry an officer of the company instead, on their very wedding day.
Who was the man she chose to marry instead?
John Rackham, a landlubber who only used the bounties of the sea to fill his coin purse. But the Belmores harnessed his ambitions for the company, his expertise at imports and exports.
Why did she do it?
What many people don't know is that mysterious things had been found on one of the company voyages to the Caribbean. Mystical things, some say.
What did they find?
The crew was sworn to secrecy by the Belmore brothers, and all of the men were loyal enough to keep their word. But the rot in the rope was that sister, Abigail. People say that the discovery took hold of her. With the broken heart of the sailor and the resources of the officer, she was about to unleash something terrible. Perhaps it was a good thing that they all disappeared.
Do you think that's true?
Of course not. It's all nonsense. But the captains do love to outperform each other with such tales on a dull evening.
No, niewątpliwie, niezależnie od tej całej historii, to musiał być szok po miesiącach zaręczyn, kiedy w dniu zaślubin nie tylko wydawałoby się przyszła żona powiedziała, że go nigdy nie kochała, ale jednocześnie od razu chciała wychodzić za kogo innego.
What makes you think I'm not a captain?
Well, for one thing, you lack the grizzle, the crustiness, the essential R of a captain.
How do I get those?
Years of exposure to salt water and sullen, uncooperative crew members, I should think. Tell me, have you ever captained a three-rigger through a tropical typhoon? Have you ever run the rapids of the Mississippi without hitting a single reef? Wind in your sails, fire in your furnace, waves beneath your keel?
Have you?
Well, it's more complicated than that.
In what way?
I get seasick.
Chorobę morską ma.
Is there any way to prove I'm a captain?
You might show me your captain's license. As I'm sure you know, the state of Louisiana requires all captains, both sea and riverboat, to carry one. But don't try to foist me off with a fake. Last week we had someone present a license with a photograph distinctly unlike their contemporary appearance. The photograph was clearly of someone a good deal older than them, with more facial hair and, most importantly, one less eye.
Może to taka trochę taki żart z przygodówek, w których czasem się zdarza, że podrabiamy czyjąś właśnie legitymację, wstawiając swoje zdjęcie, nie?
I best be casting off.
Don't feel the need to rush back, sir.
Nie wiem, czy nas tam wpuści, pewnie nie.
There was nothing in the fountain apart from a room of moss.
You can't go up there. It's for members only.
Czyli musimy go przekonać, że jesteśmy kapitanem. No może jak mu damy tę rybę. A czaszka to może oznaczać, że właśnie można z kimś rozmawiać tylko.
I didn't need to show him that.
No dobra, tutaj bez sukcesu zakończyliśmy naszą wizytę. Udźwiękowienie na poziomie.
You! Stop right there! What's your name?
Murphy McAllen.
I haven't seen you before. What's your business?
I'm just visiting. Why do you need to know?
Because your business is my business, and my business is news. I'm Evelyn Stoker, editor of the Juniper Parish Gazette. No misdeed left unshared, no drama left unmonetized. Come on, work with me here, Murphy. I need something juicy. Committed any crimes? Uncovered any affairs? Any deep, personal secrets to reveal?
The honest-to-God truth. No.
I need a good story. I can't always let something minor like the truth stand in the way of that.
No powiem, że dość bezpośrednie takie wyznanie na nową osobę, którą się spotyka. No generalnie gra nie będzie, z tego co widzę, oszczędzać w prezentowaniu osobowości postaci pobocznych, czyli będą one w pewnym stopniu chociaż przerysowane. I widzę, że gra stawia na humor, więc nie będzie to taka super poważna historia.
Don't even think about touching that machine.
Wszyscy tutaj tacy mili.
I wasn't going to get ink all over my hands. The editor peered over her spectacles at everything she did. I wondered if the only reason she wore them was to peer over them. Hanging on a peg at the far side of the room was a battered flashbulb camera. That wasn't going to work. The back wall of the newspaper office was filled with filing cabinets. From the labels on the front, they looked to be archived issues of the Juniper Parish Gazette.
Co my tu jeszcze mamy na stole? Możemy wziąć jakieś nici chyba i nożyczki. To ciekawe, że możemy brać, a ona nie reaguje w żaden sposób. Została godzina i 22 minuty, więc
The twine was going to be of more use to
prawie
me
jak
in
w czasie
town.
rzeczywistym.
I didn't need to show her that.
If I was going to make use of that, I needed a fish to weigh.
I hung the fish on the scales.
Nice try, but it's going to need to be heavier than that to beat my record.
Popili sobie trochę, słychać.
A fisherman sat at the end of the pier, his legs dangling over the edge, his eyes engrossed in a book, and an air of being distinctly proud of himself.
Are the fish biting?
Well, not so well today, to tell the truth. They must have been spooked by something. But you should have seen them yesterday. I was having to fight them off the rod. The name's Ned Kipps, by the way. Just Kipps to my friends.
I'm Murphy McAllen.
Nice to meet you, Mac. What are you doing on this old rock anyway? I haven't seen you around before. Here on vacation?
I guess you could say that.
Then you got worse judgment than an arm wrestler squaring up to a kraken. Hope you don't regret it.
Me too. What's that book you're reading?
The Louisiana Book of Records. There's this fish called a pinkoza that swims around these parts. Delicious barbecue. And you're looking at the fella that's caught the heaviest pinkoza ever weighed at the Dead Nettle Docks. Now I'm looking to see if it's a state record, maybe even national, or a world record.
That's some achievement.
Oh, it was. Got my photograph on the front page of the newspaper and everything.
What do you do with the fish you catch?
A couple I saved for myself, and the rest I sell to the Captain's Club. They fancy them up with lemon lobster, slawfish something or other. Fools. Everyone knows the best way to cook them is to barbecue them. But then again, I haven't eaten in that place my whole life.
Why not?
I don't have a captain's license, so they won't let me in.
Don't you have a fishing boat?
Now, I used to. The Petit Pichet. But they don't count it if it doesn't have a crew.
What happened to it?
That's it across the harbor with its bow sticking out the water. It was the strangest thing. There I was, fishing just out in the bay, when a sea serpent comes out the water, wraps itself around the boat. Well, I was going to be a goner. Jabbed my fishing pole right in its beady eye, throttled the motor, and managed to make it back to shore just as the hull went under. It's lucky I made it out alive.
That's a pretty tall tale.
I wouldn't believe it myself if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
It was clear that Ned had a penchant for fanciful stories. He told them with such vigor, I think he'd convinced himself they were true. I'm looking for the lost treasure of Belmore Manor.
Well, I've heard a tall tale or two. But even
Dobra,
I'm not spending my time looking for that.
namówił
It's been
mnie,
lost
napijemy
30
się
years
jednego.
now.
Lost means it's still ready for finding.
I've traveled every waterway on this island, and I haven't even seen a hint of it. It could be at the bottom of the ocean for all I know. And I've found a few treasures in my time. French treasure, British treasure, pirate treasure, but no Belmore treasure.
Do you still have those treasures?
Well, I had to hide them again. Give someone else a chance to find them. I wouldn't believe it myself if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
What do you know about the disappearance at Belmore Manor?
Now there's a tale to tell. You know about Miss Belmore? The bride engaged to the sailor? I heard she was having an affair,
Co oni robią?
getting up to no good with this fellow called John Rackham. He was one of the Belmore Company's higher-ups. Anyway, sailor catches wind of it and tricks Rackham into giving the lady a gift. That's what caused everything to go topsy-turvy.
What was the gift?
Call me a liar, but there are places in the Caribbean that trade things more elusive than gold. Ungodly things.
Is that what you think caused the disappearance?
What else could it be?
What can you tell me about Miss Belmore?
Ah, Abigail. More beautiful than a mermaid, and twice as fishy. Seems like such a nice girl, too. Until the affair. It seems so unlike her.
What about the sailor?
Don't know much about him. Never met the fella. I never got involved in the dock work, to tell the truth. Always preferred to sit with my fishing pole and fend for myself. We all figured that Abigail being in love with him and everything. He must have been fine folk. I think we were wrong. Poor Rackham, though. He was wronger still. I'm a business guy myself. Get the product, sell the product. Nothing wrong with bringing home the bacon.
No
But he brought
rzeczywiście
back trouble,
poważna rzecz.
and he paid the price.
I suppose it was a mistake for him to get involved with Abigail.
It's risky mixing business and pleasure.
Catch you later, Ned.
See you around, Mac.
I hung the fish on the scales.
Nice try, Mac. But it's going to need to be heavier than that to beat my...
That wasn't going to... I couldn't do that. It was a small leather pouch with a drawstring, used for voodoo spells. Currently, it held black
No to
feathers,
straciliśmy tylko dużo
gunpowder,
czasu
and rum.
tutaj. No dobra, Gren nie będzie tego pamiętać tym razem. Ciekawa odmiana.
Framed by trees and lit by moonlight, Belmore Manor stood imposingly in the still night air. Even without lights on, it felt like something inside the house was
Dobra,
calling
może
me.
spróbujemy jej nie
Or
budzić,
warning
jeśli
me.
to możliwe.
I scanned the house for a way in, perhaps an unlocked door or
O ile
window,
to możliwe.
but my search was without luck.
Może jednak będzie trzeba przesunąć.
With a deep breath, I took hold of the door handle of the house I'd been thinking about for months and turned it.
O! Wystarczyło tylko lekko
Unsurprisingly, it was
dotknąć.
locked. I briefly considered breaking into the house, but unsure of just how
No i
true the
pytanie,
ghost
co tutaj
stories were,
znajdziemy?
decided it was better
Czy
to
to był
not
dobry
risk
wybór, żeby
angering the
akurat
spirits
tutaj
that may have been in
przyjść?
there. If I was getting in, I was going
Myślę,
to
że
need the
tak,
key.
bo nie ufam, co Sinobrody mógłby zrobić. Jest zdjęcie tych kobiet.
I wasn't going to wade into the pond.
Rezygnacja. Coś mi się chyba
From the gathering moss
zrobiło,
and
że gra
rust,
nie jest na pełnym
it was clear
ekranie,
the
ale
patio
mam nadzieję, że
set
to nie
hadn't
będzie
been used in
przeszkadzać w tym
decades.
odcinku.
So much for good luck. I picked up the horseshoe that assaulted me. It was heavy, very heavy. The coffin lid had been nailed down securely. I wasn't going to be able to open it. The tin was empty.
Pudełko na urodę maskującą. To może być istotne. Wszystko tu może być istotne zresztą.
You frightened the dying daylights out of me.
He looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. Sorry, you seem a little jumpy?
I thought you were those pesky kids again.
Kids don't seem like a reason to be scared.
They're little terrors. I'm sure they're gonna give me a heart attack. Last week they showed up with a doctor's note they forged, saying a man I'd buried that day was just a very deep sleeper. 7 hours I was out here digging him up, at my age!
And was he sleeping?
Dead as a dodo, just like those kids will be if I get my hands on them.
My name's Murphy
No i
McCallan.
dla
I've
Lili
just
i
arrived on the
dla
island.
Jaśmin.
Well, welcome, Mr. Murphy. I'm Edgar Kettle, gravedigger, undertaker, coffin maker, and anything else
Zapamięta.
that he's doing to keep this cemetery running.
Jednak to
Looking
zapamięta.
for the treasure of Belmore Manor.
Another treasure hunter. Well, let me tell you something, young man. Don't even think about digging up my graveyard. There's no treasure buried
Tylko-
here, and I'm already busy enough
No właśnie,
in the holes
są
that are
inicjały.
meant to be here.
Do you know anything about the disappearance at Belmore Manor?
I think it's important to leave the dead to rest in peace.
But what if they're not in peace?
Well, I think there's more to that story than meets the eye. You know the three brothers went missing, right? Well, if you ask me, I think Abigail Belmore was behind it. She was engaged to a sailor, but nobody like her would go for a commoner.
She might have loved him.
She could have loved somebody with a big bank account, too. I think she must have been using him, pretending to love him, so he'd do her dirty work for her, bumping off her brothers.
Biuro Dei Dama.
Afterwards, she drops him and goes to marry the officer of the company. Fiendish.
Those are some pretty serious allegations.
Just a feeling, that's all. I don't have any evidence. But when you work with cadavers, you kinda get a sixth sense about things. People killed in mysterious circumstances. Like you can tell when someone's sneaking up behind you.
You actually seem to have trouble with that.
Wise guy.
What do you think was behind the disappearance?
Well, the sailor must have found out he was being manipulated, mustn't he? Done something to get his revenge.
What do you think the sailor did to get his revenge?
Nobody knows. But in his contracts to the Caribbean, he could have come across something fiendish. All we know is that everyone in that house disappeared. And to tell you the truth, I'm quite relieved they did.
Why's that?
Because if they'd not disappeared, it would be this old fool who'd have had to bury them. Saved me a good amount of work.
Have you got any spare coffin nails?
No, I don't got any to spare.
Czy jest
I have
jakiś
to buy
trop?
these out of my own pocket. Do you know how much the parish gives me per burial nowadays? A pittance. The roof's leaking, my table's broken. I've used floorboards to build some of the coffins. Take my advice. Don't go into this line of work. I'm telling you, undertaking's a dying business.
Have you ever accidentally buried someone who was still alive?
Not that I know of. When you think about it, how would I know?
Shouts for help? Desperate shaking of the coffin?
Look, I haven't sealed anyone up who was chatting away with me, let's put it that way. I usually check for signs of life, but everyone takes shortcuts sometimes, don't
Biorąc
they?
pod uwagę ten niedopałek, to musi być prawda. Dobra, w tym momencie kończymy. Ciekawe, co tutaj znajdziemy, no ale tak dowiemy się w kolejnym odcinku. Tymczasem dziękuję serdecznie za uwagę. Trzymajcie się. Do
Do you
usłyszenia.
not find working in a graveyard a little eerie?
Why would it be eerie?
I don't know. Ghosts, maybe?
I don't like to think about ghosts.
Why not?
Because they'd be bad for business. I have my work cut out here with the dead as it is. Imagine if they came back asking for a refund.
What are you working on?
This is just a pauper's coffin the parish is funding. Lock 'em in lumber, leave 'em to slumber. That's what I call it. No frills. This'll end up 5 feet under by the end of the night.
I thought it was supposed to be 6 feet.
You're not the one doing the digging. 5 feet means I get a tea break.
Why are you out here working so late?
The funerals take place in the morning, and I prefer to be tucked up in my bed. I don't like those early funerals. I'm not a mourning person.
No, grabarze to zawsze są interesujące osobowości, w grach przynajmniej. Przypomina mi się grabarz z Black Mirror. No, tamten to miał taki znudzony głos. Ten to jest i tak wulkan entuzjazmu w porównaniu z tamtym.
Did the coffin just move?
Don't even joke about that.
I best be running along.
Don't drop dead. I don't want anything else adding to my to-do list.
Mój kod
The
ma
tin was empty.
obecnie inne zdanie na temat nagrywania niż ja.
I didn't need to do anything with the stove, and would have probably burnt my hands if I tried. The coffin lid had been nailed down securely. I wasn't going to be able to open it. I scanned the headstones for anything of note, but didn't know what I was searching for.
Przesunie się ekran? Przesunął się.
I scanned the headstones for anything of note, but didn't know what I was searching for.
Czyli nie wiadomo czego szukamy, tak? Kolejne groby.
I couldn't see any way to open it.
Wygląda jak jakaś zagadka. Czyli już wszystkie lokacje sprawdziliśmy z tych, do których mogliśmy dotrzeć. Mamy podkowę, rybę, nożyczki, jakąś nić, butelkę, coś do wudu, manuskrypt i magazyn. Zastanawiam się, czy to demo jeszcze długo ma potrwać. No, tutaj na pewno... Nie tutaj, bo to jest to miejsce. Znaczy tutaj też. Ciekawe, czy możemy tutaj działać jakimiś przedmiotami, co?
I couldn't do that.
I co to jest? Aha. Czyli mamy jeszcze po prostu dwie rzeczy znaleźć. Znaleźliśmy 3, ale tu chyba od początku mieliśmy 3. Do znalezienia jeszcze 2. Co to jest ten czalk? Ja muszę to sprawdzić, bo nie znam tego słówka niestety. Więc muszę to sprawdzić, co to w ogóle oznacza, bo inaczej nie wiem nawet czego szukać. No dobra. A ten dziennik? O, proszę. A, to będzie solucja, tak? Dobrze myślę? Ale chyba teraz jest niedostępna. A to? A, to jest po prostu mapa. Na razie nie udowodnimy, że jesteśmy kapitanem. Czark. Kreda, tak mi pokazuje. Musielibyśmy mu udowodnić, że jesteśmy kapitanem. No, raczej po tym, co mamy, to nie uda się tego zrobić. Jeszcze sprawdzę miejsca interaktywne tutaj. Czy czegoś przypadkiem nie przeoczyłem? No, wrak.
There was no way to get out to the wreck, and from how decayed it looked, no reason to get out to the wreck either. With the ripped seam as an opening, I placed the horseshoe inside the taxidermied fish. Now it was heavy.
Czyli jednak to coś na zasadzie zagadki z rękawicą i podkową oczywiście w Jacku Orlando.
That's for weighing fish. No one's going to beat my record. Mac, does that say what I think it does? You've been holding back on me. That breaks my record.
Macallan! You just broke the island fishing record.
How did you hear about this so fast?
It's my job to know about things fast. Now, I'm doing the questions here. So what led to this unbelievable turn of events? Years of practice? Or a 1 in a million fluke? Did the fish just jump into your lap as you walked the quayside? Was the fish dropped by a passing seagull?
Would have been a pretty darn big seagull.
Just beginner's luck, I guess.
Seagull to zmewa?
As I suspected. Well, as much as it pains me to say it, you're the cover story on this evening's edition of the Juniper Parish Gazette, and this is why I'm not getting a Pulitzer.
Dobra, będziemy
I gotta
bohaterem.
hand it to you, Mac. That fish is a whopper. I wouldn't believe it myself if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
Będziemy bohaterem historii.
I'd had enough of carrying the suspiciously heavy fish around. I decided to leave it there.
No ale mogą się zorientować. Mogą znaleźć te podkowy. Ja bym zabrał. Nie no, chciałem do tej dziennikarki wejść. Ona tutaj pracuje.
Murphy, have you seen the cover of the evening edition? I think we caught your personality perfectly in that photograph. Naive, simple, unsophisticated. Makes it all the more surprising that you actually accomplished something.
I wonder if I should have it framed.
That will cost you.
I picked up the newspaper. The fewer people that saw it, the better.
Jest. To jest nasze zdjęcie.
The headline read, Island Newcomer Breaks Fishing Record, with my photograph printed in black and white.
Nie ma to jak być bohaterem pierwszej strony w gazecie.
Yes?
Hi. What's in those filing cabinets?
Past issues of the newspaper, starting right back in 1864. Of course, things were a lot more interesting when Dead Nuddle was thriving as a port town. Comings and goings of people, ships, and cargo, lots to report on back then. More than the dregs I have to dress up now.
Do you have any back issues featuring the Belmore Manor wedding?
We don't, I'm afraid. Most of the paper's directors were at the wedding and disappeared along with everyone else. The newspaper had to shut up shop for weeks while it was restaffed. This was back when the Gazette wasn't run by just one person.
Dobra, na razie skończmy rozmowę, bo tutaj chyba niczego już nie zyskamy. Myślę, że tutaj mieliśmy zyskać gazetę.
I think I better be going.
Keep your eyes out for a story, Macallan. There are secrets on the island, and it's my job to sell advertisements next to them.
Oczywiście, że tak. To demo robi się już dość długie. Zastanawiam się, czy może ta gazeta by go nie przekonała, że jesteśmy jakimś kapitanem.
I thought I'd keep that to myself.
Nie przekonałaby go. No dobra. Może jednak nie ta lokacja, tylko ta druga. Kościół. Chodziło mi jeszcze o tę drugą, czyli o trzecią. Dwór. Ale właśnie, tutaj też są drzwi. No dobra, muszę już kończyć na dziś. Być może dogram kolejną część jeszcze do tego filmu. No i puszczę całość. No a tymczasem robię cięcie. Wracam, jednak nie zostało mi dużo. Tak jak sprawdziłem. Ciekawe, czy tutaj są jeszcze jakieś przedmioty.
You've returned. Have you found all the ingredients and placed them in the gree-gree?
Not yet, but I'm working on it. I'm going to finish finding the voodoo ingredients.
Hurry back.
Okej, czyli tutaj nie można już nic zrobić, tylko można z nim rozmawiać.
With a bit of elbow grease, I pushed up the wooden window frame.
Okej.
Pressed against the inside wall was a dusty desk covered in spider webs, and on top it, one thing lay undisturbed, a small folded document which I picked up, along with an unintentional 8-legged companion. Ugh!
Pająk?
Ghost stories and haunted treasures I could handle, but spiders gave me the creeps.
A, licencja kapitana. No to proszę. Miejsce na zdjęcie. Cornelio Knott. 3 marca 1923 rok. Kiedy jest miejsce akcji? Trzeba by sprawdzić. Na kongresie w 1910 roku chyba był zatwierdzony jako kapitan. Okej.
The photograph was going to fit perfectly in the license, but I didn't want to risk ripping it. I needed a way to cut it out.
No to nożyczkami.
Carefully, I cut my photograph out of the newspaper.
Czyli jednak będzie to, co w tych przygodówkach, o których mówiłem.
I stuck the cutout photograph onto the still tacky interior of the captain's license. It was convincing enough.
Czyli będziemy stawiali nasze zdjęcie. Jest? Jest. Jesteśmy Corneliuszem Knottem. Corneliusz Knott. To nie jest z Harry'ego Pottera? Postać? Już nie musimy tutaj wchodzić drzwiami teraz. Gdzie to było? Już mi się mylą te lokacje. Tutaj. Tak.
My credentials.
You're telling me you are a captain?
I trust it's all in order.
Look, Sonny, the bylaws of this club only allow the club manager to verify a captain's license. And Mr. Perkins is enjoying his backgammon evening with Mrs. Perkins and the ladies this evening, with strict instructions not to be disturbed. So I'll be accepting this tonight, but try this again tomorrow night and it'll be another story. Now, with that said, a warm and hearty welcome to the Captain's Club. We sincerely hope you make use of and enjoy our facilities, and do please let me know if I can be of any assistance at all.
Czyli możemy wreszcie wejść do środka. Haha, bardzo ładnie. No i kolejna lokacja, tym razem z Jacka Orlando mi się przypomina. Aczkolwiek tam to się działo dużo osób, to było kasyno. Chyba był
While I
tam
was trapped on Devil's Rock, a map of the world wasn't going to be much use to me.
stół bilardowy, o ile
I considered
pamiętam.
playing a game, but billiards without the balls and cues wouldn't have been very engaging.
Na pewno w karty grali.
The cabinet was locked.
No a jak zwykle, żadna nowość. Jest ta kreda. To będzie ta kreda... Nie. To jest chyba właśnie taka kreda, czy jak to się nazywa, co do kija snookerowego czy bilardowego się używa.
It was a small cube of blue billiard chalk.
Więc nie wiem, czy to można uznać, że jest jeden ze składników, czy nie. Chalk. No chyba tak.
It was locked.
No to została nam jedna rzecz, te gwoździe, tylko nie wiem, jak te gwoździe w zasadzie zdobyć.
The cabinet was locked. An elegant glass-paneled cabinet stood in the corner of the room. Inside, a pair of cues hung either side of a trophy in the shape of an oversized billiard ball.
The twine was going to be of more use to me intact.
Chyba, że mu dać któryś z tych przedmiotów, ale to mu nie zastąpi chyba gwoździ. Czy zastąpi? No zastanawiam się, w jaki sposób je zdobyć w tym momencie. Zastosowanie tego jest oczywiste, tego też. Już to zastosowaliśmy. Tego nie będziemy pewnie używać. Magazyn też chyba nie wchodzi w grę. Butelka
It was an empty soda bottle that I'd found on the beach.
pusta. No i te dwie rzeczy. To wchodzi w grę, ale nie wydaje mi się, że w tej lokacji mielibyśmy cokolwiek z tego użyć. Więc przypuszczam, że w tej miejscówce to już wszystko. I chyba powinienem skorzystać z mapy. O!
It was a screwjack, the type I normally see being used to hold up a motor car when changing its tire. The coffin lid had been nailed down securely. I wasn't going to be able to open it.
Jeszcze użyję wyświetlacza hotspotów. Tutaj. No i te groby. Z tym, że chyba na wszystkich grobach możemy kliknąć, ale to jest jako jedno miejsce interaktywne.
With the jack removed, the table rocked freely.
Okej. Czyli można jakoś być może odwrócić jego uwagę.
I disturbed Edgar enough. The tin was empty.
To jest puste. Więc gdzie my mamy szukać? Może w środku?
I didn't need to show him. I didn't need to cut. I didn't need.
Chciałem na stół. Coś musimy z tym stołem zrobić, no bo samo pchnięcie go czy poruszenie chyba nic nie daje, tylko bohater zauważa, że to jest niestabilne, tak?
I didn't need to steady the table again. I tied the twine to the uneven table and took up a hiding spot behind a nearby wall. It was time to wake the dead.
Okej.
Hello? Hello? Why is it so dark in here?
Huh? Who's that?
I'm stuck! Help! Help!
Czyli rozumiem, czemu to miało służyć, to pytanie.
Heads.
Get me out of this thing!
Oh, no, not again.
Aha, i są gwoździe.
Mister, are you okay? I'm so sorry. I was told... Mister? Oh, God darn it! Next time I see those kids, I'm gonna have a lineup of Pee-wee coffins ready for them. See how they like being scared out of their wits.
Okej, wrzucił tam gwoździe chyba do pudełka. Już tych hotspotów nie chcę widzieć.
I disturbed Edgar enough.
A, tu wrzucił. No to
I
chyba
picked
mamy
up the
wszystko.
handful of discarded coffin nails from the tin.
Tak mi się wydaje, że już mamy te dwa składniki. Zaraz to sprawdzimy.
You've returned. Have you found all the ingredients and placed them in the Gree-Gree?
Not yet, but
Aha.
I'm working on it.
Mamy umieścić w Gree-Gree.
I found another ingredient for the summoning spell.
Wonderful. Place it inside the Gree-Gree, then return when you have all 5.
I'm going to finish finding the voodoo ingredients.
Hurry back.
Dobra, czyli to Gree-Gree to pewnie jest to ten przedmiot, który mamy w ekwipunku. To.
It was a small leather pouch with a drawstring, used for voodoo spells. Currently, it held black feathers, gunpowder, and rum.
Dobra.
I placed the chalk into the Gree-Gree.
Ciekawe, czy da się cokolwiek umieścić.
I did need to cut that.
Nie.
I placed the coffin nails into the Gree-Gree.
No to teraz
I've
mamy
done it.
komplet.
All 5 ingredients for the summoning spell. Now I needed to head back to the Spirit Queen.
Murphy, have you done what was asked of you?
I have.
Wonderful. Now, it is time for the final step. Out of the darkness, the sadness, the fear, I command you, my servant, now to appear!
Znowu ona.
I have returned, Master. What is your desire?
The ingredients have been gathered. The final step of the spell is ready. The focus.
The focus of the spell is that which you are casting it upon. Belmore Manor is where the ghosts reside. An image of Belmore Manor is what you must direct the spell with.
Murphy, do you have an image of Belmore Manor we can use?
Czy mam? Image of Belmore Manor. Może tu mam. Ale najpierw bym sprawdził miejsca interaktywne, skoro już da się to zrobić.
The Loa looked like a mixture of fire and water, glowing and undulating as it hovered above the spirit pool. Even without a face, I knew it was staring at me. The witch doctor stared at me with intense, unblinking eyes, longing for my next move. In the center of the room was a huge stone pool filled with swirling green water. Gazing into the spirit pool, it looked like I could see formless faces gazing back at me.
Dobra, sprawdźmy ten magazyn.
Yes, Murphy. That will work. Place it inside the Gree-Gree as the final ingredient.
I folded the magazine cover and placed it inside the Gree-Gree.
The spell is ready. Finally, the ghosts will be free again. Open the Gree-Gree, Murphy, and that will cast the spell.
With some trepidation, I took the Gree-Gree from my pocket and then, with a deep breath, opened it.
At last, I am free.
Servant, what's happening?
I was never your
Ooh.
servant.
I am your master. You shall do my bidding. I command you.
Foolish mortal, you have served your purpose. No longer do I need to manifest as an ephemeral specter. Now my true spirit form is freed.
Loa, do as I say.
You have no more use to me.
Ha, ha, ha.
I wasn't sure what I'd just seen, but the voodoo fire raging all around me was all too real. I needed to get out, and fast.
Czyli oszukał ich wszystkich. Oszukał swojego pana. Bohater nasz nie przyzwał duchów, tylko uwolnił właśnie tę Loę.
Sitting in a big fancy chair definitely wasn't enough justification to leap through raging flames.
Dobra, czym można? No wodą. Tylko, że wody nie mamy, bo butelka jest pusta chyba, tak?
Extinguishing the flames seemed like a smart move, but the bottle was empty.
No właśnie. Chyba że napełnić tym.
I filled the bottle with water from the spirit pool.
Woda zielona, ale woda. Ups. No to się porobiło. Gdzie on wpadł? Ach. Dowiemy się w pełnej wersji gry. To już koniec dema. No nie powiem, ciekawie. Jest na pewno bardzo klimatycznie. Przede wszystkim no, przepiękne tła. To trzeba powiedzieć. I dobrze wykonane postacie, które się dobrze komponują właśnie z miejscówkami, z tłami. Także wszystko jest na swoim miejscu. Muzyka też jest całkiem w porządku, i dźwięki, i voice acting. Także na razie wszystko jest bardzo obiecujące. No zobaczymy, na ile historia da radę. Jest ciekawa, intrygująca, jest tutaj trochę humoru. Także gra ma naprawdę potencjał, żeby zostać jedną z najlepszych przygodówek ostatnich lat, a na pewno najładniejszą, bądź jedną z najładniejszych. Czy tak będzie? Przekonamy się. Mam nadzieję, że pełna wersja osiągnie duży sukces, no i spodoba się nam wszystkim. I to już wszystko. Dziękuję za uwagę, trzymajcie się. Do usłyszenia. Pa, pa.